Hello everyone, and good afternoon. Very pleasure to be here, welcoming you to the MRSI's 29th Annual Market Research Seminar today. Actually, it should have been the 30th, had we not gone through a certain phase last year. I remember it was probably 4th of March, to be precise, when we actually had to take a decision of aborting this regional event that we were co-hosting along with SOMAR, which would have actually taken the form of the annual seminar for last year. It was going to be a fabulous event, 750 plus attendees who had already been there. Unfortunately, we just had to sort of cancel it, cancel bookings, cancel flights, and all the fun and frolic that we had otherwise planned for. And it's taken us a good 18 months to sort of come back to this particular cycle where we are happy to sort of bring this whole flagship MRSI's annual seminar to you. 29th, never mind, but we are sort of around it, and I'm sure we'll be able to enjoy the virtual show just as much as, or probably more than, what we could have enjoyed in person. Life has been tough in the last year for us, most of us. Professionally, personally, we have all sort of gone through a number of changes and other elements which led to uncertainty. In a way, I mean, thinking of it, it was almost like this whole mythological manthan or churn, as we sort of call it, that actually happened with most of us. We went through the pain of change. We went through the pain of adopting to this uncertainty, a very different way of sort of doing it. However, I feel that we are now heading towards the next phase of, probably this crisis would be staying for a bit longer. But what is not going to stay is the fact that we had this kind of sentiments in the beginning of the last year. We are probably moving more towards optimism, hope, and stuff, and that's where we are at. That's what sort of brings us to do the new theme of this particular year. Moving on to presentation, can I have my slides, please? So thank you always comes first. And while the screen sort of showed up thank you, I need to start with the thank you, saying I can't tell you how many people actually sort of were consumed behind bringing this to you in the kind of manner it is. And I would be taking the names, specifically mentioning most of them, if not all of them, whoever has sort of gotten us here. So let's look at what we have in store today. So there is this study that we are currently, as MRSI, working with another leading firm called Value Notes, and I'll be talking a bit more about that. These are some of the key trends that they have sort of seen in the last year or so, especially during the COVID times. We have seen that the domestic demand has actually gone down by 15 to 20%, and there are a lot of other things which have actually gone down, a huge amount of restraint on spending, etc., which is what has sort of brought down the entire momentum or tempo that there was. However, the silver lining is that those who are engaged in international sort of work, or rather exports of insights, or were involved with analytics or technology enabled or digital way of sort of delivering, they have not only managed to survive this kind of a wave, they have actually come out as winners, because it's actually improved their pace of adoption and etc., basis which they have seen some unprecedented growth in the last few years. COVID-19 has actually helped them accelerate, as I mentioned, the entire pace at which they were running. And apart from that, not only at the analysis and data handling level, even the data collection level, a lot of other devices, technology, and other things have been sort of brought in, which has changed the entire sort of pace at which we would typically do market research. A lot of things are changing, and that has what has sort of led us through this entire year. For MRSI, the last couple of years was not easy. A lot of things were changing. A lot of our members were actually going through tough times. As I mentioned, they were pretty much struggling with their own sort of benefits and the challenges that they were sort of having. In that particular piece, MRSI found a very sweet spot for itself, and we helped them recover the kind of growth that was so much needed in this particular industry through a number of initiatives that otherwise were not very customary or traditional in the MRSI's typical scope of engagement. Let's look at some of those. I'll try to cover them very quickly so as to give everyone an idea in terms of what all is happening in the industry. We started with the Golden Key Awards. This particular event actually was launched during the COVID times, almost somewhere near there, in order to bring in celebration at a time of gloom. Sounds counterintuitive, but that's exactly what we intended to do. We wanted to count our blessings. We wanted to see that we were able to highlight the achievements that people who are in the similar sort of a situation and context have handled, and how differently they've handled, and they really sort of deserved an applause and acknowledgement. Can I play the video, please? Is the voice coming? So that was Golden Key Awards, friends. We have already had 2 editions of that. And along with Golden Key Awards, we had the Lifetime Achievement Awards as well, which was again one of the first in the industry. We have had so many role models, so many veterans, but we always needed a platform to celebrate them, acknowledge them, and that's what this particular event sort of gave us. I am hopeful that this thing will continue with your support. And the kind of participation that we have sort of seen in the past. Sharing the knowledge through industry veterans is the other sort of initiative that we have been working on. It's almost been, what, 3-4 years now since we've been at it, and a lot of you have been participating in this. This is the Wednesday webinars that we typically have. In the year of COVID, which was last year, 1920, we actually held 12 webinars, along with some 4 special webinars. As you could see, I mean, the number of registrations and other things actually went through the roof. We had 920 registration, 800 plus registrations, and not only from domestic audience, but global participation as well. We were quoted widely across various associations globally to highlight the kind of new things that we were doing in this area of, in this time of distress and disruption. In this particular, keeping the trend with how things have been changing and how the customer experience has become very, very important, we have also sort of aligned our webinar focus this year as well. And a lot of industry veterans in this particular space have been coming in. You would hear couple of them in the papers and fireside chat tomorrow as well regarding this particular topic, which is the CX series. It's a much sharper focus, and please do keep attending. It happens on the 3rd Wednesday of every month. Then we have something called as the International Market Research Day, which comes in the month of May, and it is something which was initially started by the Market Research Association in Turkey, and then supported by all the associations of consumer insights globally. And I'm happy to share your MRSI was also one of the key participants in driving this connect at a global level. Everybody was extremely excited by the kind of papers that we presented, the kind of things that we showcased. Ours was actually one of the highest attended papers across all countries. So kudos to all of you. A very quick clipping on what IMRD was about. So that was IMRD. I hope you continue to stay connected with IMRD through MRSI, and we will keep you updated on the next set of participations that we would have in that area. Next is around empathy. During this whole COVID period, we know that a lot of us went through distress, and some of people, especially our field workers, those who collect the data for us, they went through some very tough times because of complete lockdown. They were not able to generate any sort of income and all. And that's when the industry sort of came together, along with all the industry veterans, providers, and employers. We sort of came together and contributed in a way that was, again, was one of the few things where MRSI sort of took a first step along with the rest of the industry. So we actually helped more than 3,600 interviewers through the MRSI platform, but there were another 10,000 odd interviewers who were helped throughout by various industry employers and managing their own set of business along with the kind of engagement that they brought in. There is another thing that MRSI otherwise is supposed to be doing and to providing as sort of a tool to all its members is about self-awareness. We need to understand how big are we and what is it that we are known for, who is competing with us, which direction are we headed, what is our current size, and so on and so forth. So MRSI, along with Value Notes, we have commissioned a work around Indian Industry of Consumer Insights of 2021. This whole initiative actually tries to understand what is the size of the Indian insights industry. Now, what we're trying to do here is look at the bigger picture of how the insights industry is functioning versus just the market research industry. What are the different segments that are there? What are the different segments' growth rate, and how are they sort of growing against each other? What is the kind of interactions that they are having with each other and stuff? Sorry. How are the client expectations changing? And how are these firms basically meeting up these challenges? What is the kind of impact that COVID-19 has had on a lot of us? And what is the way out of this particular thing? And what is the kind of impact that it would sort of leave us with? So it is an industry level activity that we have sort of taken. Along with Value Notes, who's the key partner, who's doing it with us. We also have a highly eminent advisory panel who's working with us in ensuring the methodology, interpretation, and the recommendations are nothing but best in class. This particular report, I'm happy to share, would be launched around mid-September. At a high level, if I just to give you a sneak peek, right now, our overall size of industry is roughly about 16,000 crores, which works out to about $2.2 billion on a per annual consumption basis. A lot of it is exports, but a bit of it is working towards the domestic consumption as well. There'd be more on this, so please keep watching this particular space, and we will share more highlights with you, more detailed findings and the recommendations from this. So please keep looking for this particular space around mid of September. And now coming to the annual seminar, which is, again, as I mentioned, it's the flagship activity of MRSI. It's been going on for the last so many years, since the time MRSI itself was created in the late 80s, early 90s. So we'll get into that once I sort of. So apart from all these key activities, there are several other activities that we at MRSI level are also engaged in. Academia Connect, where we try to connect the academic institutions with the industry requirements to bridge the demand and supply gap. Community program, where we try to highlight the areas where our youngsters could actually learn the caring part with their community. Professional Standards Committee, it's an escalation and conflict resolution platform. Government lobby to help us lobby our interests as an industry with the government and other authorities. Field interviewer test, FIT as it's otherwise called, MRSI. It ensures that all the people who are working on the field doing data collection are certified and tested by rigorous standards of MRSI. So these are various activities that we have been handling. Very quickly, having a sneak peek at the 29th MRSI's annual market research seminar. Any guesses what this is? If you do, please put that in the chat window. I'd be happy to see what your guesses are. Yes, so access denied, Curious Cat, LR Squared, Technopics, Hack Street Boys, Tech Tritons, Bullseye, Wizards at Work, Golden Hawks. These are all the participating team member companies in the first ever MRSI hackathon. And it's called Jedi at Work. Those who are familiar with Star Wars would know what Jedi stands for. They're the light side of the Force, who are the shining knights, ensuring that they are always at the forefront, trying to protect the interest of the enterprise. And these Jedi have actually done exactly the same thing. They were given a problem yesterday. This hackathon started yesterday at 9 a.m. They were given a problem, which was around how do you reinvent the retail audit? And they basically were given 24 hours to come back with their approach and solutions. And that thing has happened. And all of them, all 17 of them have actually managed to complete their work within 24 hours and would be declaring the results shortly on that. Apart from hackathon, this year's seminar also has a number of other activities. We would have our typical synopsis and presentations, followed by the masterclass sessions. This whole activity has been fairly fun-filled. I'm very happy to share that we are likely to see 1,000+ participants in this particular event, which is a record by far in the region, not only in India, that we have ever seen. Our last most attended event was in 2019. Of course, it was in person, but that was about 430 people odd. And I'm hoping that this would actually cross 1,000 by far. I'm very happy to sort of welcome all the people who registered, all the companies who thought that their employees and their stakeholders need to be a part of this whole initiative. So thank you very much. And stay tuned. There are a lot of exciting things today. We also had one of the highest submissions this year, 103 submissions, of which only 13 was selected because of the kind of rigor that sort of made it through. All of your winners, by the way, whoever submitted, every thought was cherished here. Every thought was something that we celebrated while we at jury deliberated through that. But at the end of the day, we selected the ones which were more relevant to the times that we had, and the ones that actually stood out in terms of the uniqueness and relevance. But all of you, whoever submitted, thank you very much for that. And as I mentioned, we had close to 17 teams coming in there. All of this, whatever we have been doing, wouldn't have been possible without the sponsors, kind sponsors who have been with us, ITC MasterChef, Unilever, Nestle, Kantar, Hansa, BRC, Crownit, Datamatics, and our friends of research. So thank you very much, everyone, for being with us at this particular time in supporting the kind of industry that we have. I also want to thank the program committee who put up a very distinct and a different sort of an approach this time around. I can't express enough that they are the ones who are the evangelists of do the new, and they actually showed it, not only by asking for the papers in that kind of a manner or a theme, but also sort of showing that the design itself can also look at a bit of do the new in terms of where we are at. The jury, again, spent a huge amount of time behind all kinds of reading the papers and stuff, and coming up with the most tough thing of a decision. So I really appreciate your time and efforts that sort of went behind it. I also want to thank all the speakers and the other people who have participated in building the entire content for it. Now, nothing would have been possible behind all of this if the support of the managing committee of MRSI was not there. This is a team that I have, which I'm very, very proud of in terms of the kind of pace and adoption that we have sort of took in the last couple of years. When the whole world was down, this was the team which actually got up and said, we have to do something. And I cannot be thankful enough to the MRSI MC members, the MRSI office bearers, who have played a vital role at all times of day and night when we have gotten together to get things going. And last but not the least, the backbone of whatever we end up doing is coming from the MRSI Secretariat. We have a brand new Director General, Mitali Chauhan, who's an industry veteran herself, who's taken the leadership and is driving the changes with a rigor and with vengeance, literally. And you would see some of that coming in today. I have Sonali, who's our director, Diana Moraru, the program manager, and you would have interacted with all of them, and our dearest Nandu. So thank you, all of you guys. Really appreciate all of that. And now let me pass on the baton to dear Mitali. So Mitali, over to you.